Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session on Fly Customers to the Moon, how to build engaging embedded analytics applications. My name is Zalak Trivedi, and I'm a product manager here at Sigma. I've been here for about 2.5 years, and I primarily focus on embedded analytics vision and strategy. With me, we have Will Wood from Brooklyn Data. Will, how about you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks. Hey, I'm Will. I'm the VP of Data Solutions over here at Brooklyn Data. The Data Solutions team really defines the data strategy for all of our engagements. And I've been at the organization for the last 3 years.
Awesome. Thanks, Will, for doing this session with us. Um, a little bit of a highlight of the agenda here. We're going to talk a little bit about Brooklyn Data and Sigma. We talk about a little bit on embedded analytics. We go into the background of the demo, which is for Brooks Grocery and Goods. And then we actually go into the demo itself. So Will, take it away.
Yeah, for sure. So Brooklyn Data is a data-driven digital agency, and we do a lot of things with organizations to really help them build out personalized implementations, build these user-first digital experiences and streamline any type of integration and data infrastructure that they have. We've been working with Sigma for a long time. We're core partners with Snowflake, dbt, Fivetrain, and Mixpanel as well.
Amazing. So the entire modern data stack.
Yeah, exactly. Everything end to end. And really what we do is we can do anything from like, hey, you have these tools that you want to get stood up, even super upstream to doing data strategy to say, hey, what are the key metrics? What are the KPIs we need to monitor to achieve these grandiose goals that we have at this organization? From there, we can even go in and say like, hey, what is the data strategy that's needed to build out these user experiences to really have a differentiated user experience and personalization, whether it be, a differentiated digital asset or anything like that, or even empowering your data team themselves and saying like, hey, what are the best practices that are happening as these tools evolve, as there's new processes that are out there, and then really tying everything together and saying, hey, how can we have a that works together super well. BDC Brooklyn Data, we can do everything, every part of it, and really help from that 0 to 1 implementation to, hey, we just need a little bit of augmentation of what are the best practices to really move our organization forward.
That's pretty amazing. So pretty much everything from setting up the data pipelines to making sure all of the transformations are done to actually visualizing and then embedding into a full-blown application. I think
Yeah,
the full suite.
and really understanding why that's so important. There's often times where, data can kind of be an unsung hero of like, hey, we spent all this time building out these pipelines and building all these things, and then it doesn't resonate necessarily with the business. And that's really what gets me super excited about embedded analytics, because it's taking these data products that are being built in these data systems and then meeting the users where they are and saying, hey, this is where you can see the data and it can really sing and really shine as to like why data is good.
Makes sense. Um, for most of you who are here, you probably already know about Sigma, but if you don't, here are the 5 core pillars of Sigma as a analytics and a data applications platform. Number one, we are a spreadsheet interface. So it does not matter if you don't know how to write SQL or anything else. If you know how to use spreadsheet, you can use how you can use Sigma. We are also a big believer of multiplayer BI. You might have seen billboards here around San Francisco about for this. It's all about collaboration. The entire world here is moving towards how we can collaborate effectively uh, while using the data. So again, if you're using spreadsheets, or if you know how to write SQL or Python, or if you want to use our AI, which I'm going to talk about a little bit, you are all able to collaborate on the same dashboard and create something collaboratively. We have real-time write-backs. So if you have external data that you want to bring in to just augment your analysis or do some what-if analysis or forecasting, you are able to do that. And as with everyone else, we are also focused on AI for speed and power, making Sigma extremely easy to use. Our CTO and co-founder likes to say this, that with Sigma, we are trying to make hard things possible and simple things even easier. And we strongly kind of embody it in our AI principles. And then lastly, cloud scale and security. We want to make sure that the data that is being consumed through Sigma is secure, and we are also able to respect all of the security guidelines that are coming from the cloud data warehouses.
I think one of the things that is really cool about this is the spread is how all these work together. So like when I work with an organization that maybe is moving on to Sigma for the first time and they're like, hey, I don't know this tool. This is kind of scary. It's like you actually know this tool. You've been in spreadsheets your entire professional life, and now we're bringing this tool in that is it's built for you, for that exact user that like, hey, you know spreadsheets, so let's meet you where you are, which I think is even like gets at the embedded analytics piece of what I was saying is like, let's meet you where you're at. And then
Exactly.
also giving these business users the power, you don't have to be an engineer to say like, hey, I need this and I want this to communicate with my other data. You have this real time, right? Which then just makes it so that you have business users that are building out more artifacts that can make better decisions for the organization. It's really, really cool.
Exactly. I think me as a product manager, working in my past jobs, using some of the other tools when I had to rely on someone else constantly to get what I need was very painful, right? The whole data hierarchy is kind of broken down here because once you have access to data, you are able to do all these calculations and drill downs and everything yourselves. And it really 10x's my output when I'm trying to get certain things done, understand usage analytics, or understand everything about what next we should build as a product team. So again, it kind of amplifies any business users output by a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about embedded analytics. So we have three kind of main pillars, and we have hundreds of customers now utilizing embedded analytics with Sigma. The first objective, right, to think about is how can you beat your competition to market, right? So with Sigma, you have a very accelerated time to market. It's a very simple tool, and I'm sure Will is going to demonstrate a little bit of that. You can take it, embed it into your product, and it's ready to go. For certain other products that we've seen it out in the market, take months and sometimes even years to get a product out of the market. With Sigma, we have customers who've been live in a couple of weeks. You can provide a very tailored UX with pretty much no overhead. Yeah, you're taking the workbook, the dashboard that you've created, and putting into the application that you created. And then you can tailor it based on what you want your end users to do. And that's where revenue comes from, right? So if someone is using your product as a basic or a light user, you can just give them a view only access. But if you have a mature audience in your product where you feel you can monetize and generate revenue, give them more, right? Give them exploration capabilities or give them creation capabilities. And all of this is possible seamlessly with Sigma's product. Um, and yeah, let's get to the kind of understanding a little bit about the BDC's perspective of this.
Yeah, no, I think everything that you said really resonates and gets back to, democratization of the data. How do we put this data in non-technical users' hands? How can we make sure that people that, would typically look at a tool and be like, hey, this is way beyond me. How do we get them access to these tools that are being built that then they can make better decisions and take actions faster? One of the teams that everyone or one of the teams, one of the terms or sayings that I say all the time that my teams are definitely tired of me saying is like, as being a data person, is like data isn't the terminal product that we're going for here. It's
Yeah.
making better decisions and taking better actions. And so oftentimes it's like, how do we make sure that this data that we've, you know, cultivated, transformed, gotten into a really good spot, how do we get that back to the business so that way they can make these really good decisions and push it forward? And then also, how do we make a personalized user experience? So if I want to make sure that we're making or taking actions quickly and making good decisions, it's you don't need to sit there and comb through all these other artifacts that maybe don't resonate to you and maybe you just don't need to know. It's that
Yeah.
bit of like you get this analysis paralysis of, oh, I'm getting hit with all these data points and what does this mean? And what does that mean? It's how do I give my user the data that they need to make their decisions and not really be focused on, every other thing and every other piece. And so making sure that their workflow is set up so that way they see the information that's important to them.
Yeah, it's all about like when I'm seeing something, so what and what's next, right? And if what you're presenting can answer that, it makes life so much simpler.
Yeah, trying to reduce the noise and increase the signal.
100%.
Yeah, so I think Sigma does this really, really well with their visualizations. The things that are the way they present the data just makes it so it's so natural to the business user to say like, hey, what does this mean? Hey, I actually want to make a quick change to this. I can iterate on this super fast. The write back, I'm going to index on that so many times. Is just like, it's so helpful of like, hey, what's going to happen if I do X, or what if I do Y? And that's where you get this intelligent forecasting and the database write back working together. Is, hey, if I make this decision, what does that do to my forecast? How is that going to happen? And then real time AI driven predictions as well, is like, hey, what what can we use from context clues about other things that are happening to suggest like, hey, using this artificial intelligence, this is what we think should be happening, and this is what we think you should be doing. And then going back to the time to value with the iframe embedding, there's so many things where, I've worked with organizations and built custom embeddings in the past. And that time to value is just so long because you're having to do all this bespoke things. With Sigma, you have this iframe embedding, so you can spin up these dashboards and then you can get them into a website, you know, within the same day. And that
Yeah,
that is just like so fast compared to the way it's been in the past or how other tools are working.
definitely. I think the time to market is something that we heavily indexed on. When we originally started thinking about embedded analytics, that was one of the key pillars that we wanted to focus on, because we believe that we did have a very strong product. And how can we get the power of Sigma into every other product that is being built that needs analytics? So speed is something that we optimize for a lot.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So I want to give a bit of background and do a little bit of a demo today. We've got this grocery store company, grocery and goods. They don't just sell groceries, and they sell a wide range of products across the board. And they have a bunch of people that are, whether it be regional store managers, people that are looking to do strategic investment marketers, things like that. And they're trying to get all this information and they want to see their data to understand what they're doing. So what we ended up doing is we said, hey, let's build out this Sigma dashboarding capabilities, and let's see how we can make it fit everyone's need. And with with database and with database security and Sigma's row level security as well, we can make sure that we're giving the right users the right visibility into the information that they need to make those decisions. And I could talk a lot about like how we went through this process, but I think really what's going to resonate is if I kind of go through these different profiles of people, understand what they needed, what information they needed, and then show you the solution that we actually developed.
Awesome. I'm excited.
Cool. So first, let's start with Emma. She's the general manager. Her big priority here is like, what do we need to do to grow the business? And that is across markets, across departments. Hey, whether it be cosmetics, home goods, et cetera, whether it be in the Bay Area, in New York, in the South, like across the entire organization, what is happening and what can we do to really drive this forward? And so she needs access to literally all the data, all the personas in any place, anywhere, and really understand what that looks like, and really be able to dive in and intersect all this information. And this is kind of like your general user that needs to see everything, which
Right.
is, sounds like a stressful job, but Emma does a great job at it.
Yep.
Next, we got Priya. She's a department manager, and really, she's solely focused on the cosmetics. So, as Emma's looking at the entire organization, Priya is right there next to her, but just looking at cosmetics. What can we be doing to grow the cosmetics department? She's going to be using information to make strategic investments in the organization. And how can she be looking at these investments and interpreting trends and making sure that we're coming up with good recommendations? With that, there's a forecasting piece of, hey, if I spend X dollars, what is the Y return that I'm going to get on that? How can I see all this information without having to go to multiple different tools? How do I have it so that way I can be looking at a data set, looking at some analysis, and then say, like, hey, this leads me to an idea. How do I test this idea?
Right.
And then we've got Daniel. Daniel is only solely focused on the New York market, and he's looking at short-term performance and long-term growth. So similar to Priya, he's looking at investments. He's looking at what we can be doing to invest in the organization that's really going to be driving return on that investment. And so very similar to Priya, but instead of looking at cosmetics, it's solely like, hey, what can we be doing? How is New York performing? What are the things, what are the behaviors in the New York market that are maybe different? And I need to focus solely on how this customer base is reacting. And then finally, we got Jason, who's the global admin. He's there to make sure that everything's in working order. If there's any type of performance issues or anything like that, he needs to be understanding everything across them. And so now that we've laid out these 4 different profiles, I'd love to share out the tool that I just lost and I'll pull back up and show what we have built.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm assuming you're leveraging a lot of information around security directly from warehouse, and then you're applying more things which are related to uh, row level security policies within Sigma itself.
Yeah, absolutely. So here we have Emma. And just as a reminder, Emma is looking at the entire organization across different cities, across different items. She needs to be understanding what's happening in the organization. So, first things first, we have this customer 360 overview, and we have a date range filter in here. So that way we can see anything that's been happening roughly over the past 11 months to say, like, what has our performance been? And then some trend lines in here as well to see, like, hey, we're actually trending a little bit low February versus January 2022. And just to see the overall performance, see our sales are growing. I think one of the really cool things in here is that, let's say Emma is like, cool, I want to know just what's been happening with our display, our customers that we're getting just from display sources. So you can see in here this channel attribution. And
Mhm.
now you can see that this has been updated and you have this customer and sales data just for that. And then you say, oh, I actually just want to look at anybody that's currently active that we sourced um, through the display channel and being able to filter and see all these updates live time. And then she's like, oh, you know what? Actually, I want to see just since this year and being able to update this information on the fly and have this information is just so great. And then like,
Mhm.
oh, actually, you know what? This is sort of one direction. I actually want to look at these and then dive into the data and look at the vegetable information itself. So Emma has this ability to not just like see the information, but hey, I've got first order or first tier questions that are coming up. How can I click into these on the fly to see the information and start building these hypotheses and gaining additional information to see these things work together and understand? I think it's incredibly valuable that she's able to see all this information on the fly. But I think where this really starts gaining more value is, let's say now I'm Priya, and so we can switch the user. And now, just as a reminder, Priya's looking at only the information in cosmetics. So now we have a tool that is set up to answer similar questions across Emma and Priya, but now it's been filtered and it says like, hey, user, you don't really care about vegetables. You don't really care about home goods. You care about cosmetics. So I'm only going to be showing you the information around cosmetics and being able to have this multi-purpose tool and really be able to filter and adjust to what they're needing and what they're looking for is great. The other piece that I really want to call out is this marketing forecast piece. So in Emma's version, there is no marketing forecast because she's not doing any type of strategic investment. But
Right.
when we get over to Priya, she does have this part of her job, which is around marketing forecasting for cosmetics. And so we can see this. We have a couple charts here for uh, sales actuals across the board, broken out by all channel, and then broken out by channel.
Mhm.
What the last 30-day revenue is as well. And then we have this piece around forecasting, and we actually have some inputs. So, as it says in the boxes below, input your daily ad spend budget, and the model running in Snowflake will generate the forecast in real time. Note that only paid marketing channels will be projected in the by channel visuals. So, let's say there's just a crazy thing happens and mobile ads has been $162.16, but we just want to bump that up by a little bit. What is going to be our forecasted return on that investment? So the revenue forecast just jumped 5x and is now over 64 million. But there's a significant investment that's happening there. So
Right.
if we want to switch this back to 162 and then say like, oh, social, if we actually increase this by basically 2x, what is that going to do to our revenue? And what's happening here is, there's not a real effective change in there. So it's like, hey, we likely shouldn't be increasing our social spend that much. What's happening is we have these inputs that are actually writing, thanks to Sigma's input tables, it's writing back to Snowflake, and then Snowflake is reading this data and coming up with new forecasts in real time to see what the output or what the impact of that is.
That is pretty amazing.
Yeah. And then similarly, but then just with Daniel, who, like I said, he's focused just solely on the New York market. Again, you can see the same information, but now it's been filtered just to New York. So he can see multiple category items, but it's just in this region of New York. And then similarly for the marketing forecast as well, this is focused to just New York spend, just New York revenue. And so everything's going to be, just a subset and saying like, hey, if I spend money in just my New York market, what is the expected, oh, that wrote backwards, what the expected impact of that investment is going to be. So that way Daniel can go and talk to his leadership and say like, hey, here's the plan. This is what everything's going to be. And this is how it's been checked in reality. So I think really what all this means is like, we have this tool that is now inside the platform that these business users are using regularly to understand like what's happening. They have this insight and analysis piece that is personalized just to them to say like, hey, what are the questions that you need to be asking? We have all this communicating together, and it's in a place that we can then, you never have to leave, you never have to go to multiple tools to get these insights. Everything's built together, and it's built together in a way that is fast and seamless.
Yeah, I think it's very impressive. And it is the same dashboard, right? And so from a developer standpoint, you're not creating four different things for four different persona. It is the same workbook that you created. And what you're doing is behind the scenes is changing the row level security to showcase Emma what Emma needs to see and Priya what Priya needs to see.
Yes, exactly. And it makes it so nice because those business users, one of the biggest things is like, hey, I need a one-stop shop. I need the single source, not just a single source of truth, but the tangible piece of that single source of truth is I need a single location where I can go and get that truth across
Right.
the organization. And that's what embedded Sigma can do is, hey, I'm in my order management system. I'm in my e-commerce platform, and I can have the access to this information all right there to see these deeper insights and understand what's going on, which is really, really nice. Um, yeah, it's great.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Will, for the demo. I learned a lot. I think it's always interesting to see how different people implement Sigma in different ways. There are obviously a lot of commonalities around the ease of use and implementing the same workbook, but the way that people use it, I think it's always pretty awesome to kind of just look at different outcomes.
Yeah, yeah. And this is just a high level overview of how that forecast model is working, and between user defined functions in Sigma and then Sigma calling things itself. It all is, I think it makes everyone's life so much easier. This tool, this process, everything just makes it a lot better. And the business responds to that, and they experience it as well.
Exactly. Well, once again, thank you, Will, so
Yeah,
much
thanks for
for this
having me.
session. Yeah. We are going to continue this data monetization week. Well, tomorrow, you can join me and my uncle, who used to be a stand-up comedian. Now real estate investor and a Sigma customer, and a CEO of a company called Where to Invest. And we'll be talking about how data and actually embedded analytics can help real estate investors choose the best neighborhoods around the United States. Thank you once
Awesome.
again.
Thank you.